This is why Leverkusen have fallen so much. November 2023. Bayer Leverkusen are enjoying their most impressive start to a Bundesliga season, taking 28 out of 30 points, drawing with Bayern Munich at the Allianz Arena and going top of the table. But most importantly, they are playing some exciting football, giving fans hope that the trophyless curse will be broken. Fast forward 12 months, and Bayer Leverkusen are not only on a different level, but they also need a miracle to retain their hard-fought Bundesliga title, trailing Bayern by 9 points. And all this raises the question, how much, and most of all, why have Leverkusen fallen so far after a glorious 2023-24 season? To answer this very question, we need to go back to last season to fully appreciate how impressive they were then, and how miserable they are now. Let's start with the team. Bayer Leverkusen's lineup had some very important components, without which the game would not have worked in Xabi Alonso's way. There was a strong three-man defensive line led by Jonathan Tah, fullbacks Alex Grimaldo and Jeremy Frimpong, solidity in the middle with Xhaka and Andrich, the creativity of Florian Wirtz, and, of course, the attacking firepower of either Boniface or Patrick Schick. These were the 8 players who were crucial to Leverkusen's domestic double. By the end of the season, Leverkusen had won 28, drawn just 6, and didn't lose a single match during the entire Bundesliga campaign. It was literally one of the most impressive performances in the history of the league. Things are a little different now, however, as Leverkusen have failed to win as many games as they have in the entire 2023-24 season, and not even a third of the year has passed. 5 draws, 1 defeat, and 17 points are nowhere near Leverkusen's wonders from exactly a year ago. Many would look to the players for the answer. Yes, that might be a logical explanation in any other case. But not in Leverkusen's. Every single one, and we repeat, every single one of the names above is still a key part of the squad, even in 2024-25. Not only that, but they have actually strengthened themselves, at least on paper, by bringing in Alex Garcia, the Spanish playmaker who did wonders for Girona last season as they finished 3rd in La Liga. Another excellent transfer was that of Martin Terrier, who also performed well, finishing his Ligue 1 campaign with 12 goal involvements. On the other hand, the only 2 departures to make more than 35 appearances last season were attacking midfielder Adam Hlozek and center-back Odilon Kasanu. But let's face it, they weren't even that influential for Leverkusen to cause such a dramatic decline. So, it seems the answer lies deeper down. Now, let's take a look at Leverkusen's defensive and attacking figures last season. They were outstanding in both departments, but many pundits argued that it was the defense that earned them so much praise. Leverkusen finished the Bundesliga campaign with just 24 goals conceded, the best total in the last 8 years. One thing that did have an impact, however, was that Leverkusen struggled far too much after the winter break to put games to bed early. With 4 victories by a margin of 1 goal during the first half of the campaign, this was doubled from January onwards, as Leverkusen became far more ineffective in the final third. With that being said, and the undeniable defensive solidity, the problem clearly lies in attack, and more specifically in the role of Victor Boniface. He arrived in the summer of 2023 and made an impressive start to life in the Bundesliga, scoring 10 goals and laying on 7 assists in his first 16 games, before departing for the African Cup of Nations in January. An adductor injury, however, sidelined him for almost 3 months, and that was when Leverkusen's struggles in attack began. Alonso's side immediately began to score less, and it was during this period that they began to win matches in the very last seconds of their games. And while that may have sounded impressive at the time, the consequences were disastrous for Leverkusen. Another interesting stat is that with Boniface in the side, or between August and December 2023, Leverkusen won 5 games with 1 goal margin, while without him, the number rose to 9. With Boniface available, Leverkusen had a focal point who was effective in and around the box, whether it is linking up with others or creating chances himself. Yes, he is currently fully fit and playing in most of Bayer's matches, but this injury is preventing him from playing to his full potential. So far in 2024-25, the Nigerian has 9 goal contributions to his name, compared to 17 at the same stage last season. And while he will be given time to find his best feet again, the same cannot be said for Alonso, who will immediately need a plan B if Leverkusen are to recapture the glory days. The German statisticians at Transfermarkt have also produced a very interesting chart showing the average point record for Leverkusen in 2023-24 compared to this season. Well, as you can see, the champions have dropped almost 1 point on average, from 2.7 to 1.8, which is a massive difference. And as we talked about the unchanged squad, the role of Boniface, the point difference, we can't help but mention also the form at the beginning of the campaign. At least until the start of October, Leverkusen were on a steady trajectory, losing just 1 game before the second international break. 11 games, 8 wins, including a Super Cup victory over Stuttgart, a Bundesliga clash against Eintracht Frankfurt, and a tough Champions League encounter with AC Milan. Everything seemed the same as before. Even the derby against Bayern Munich at the Allianz Arena gave cause for optimism, as Leverkusen once again showed great defensive cohesion and did not lose their toughest away game in the league for the second season in a row. But then, since failing to beat Brest in Europe, in what should have been a must-win game, Leverkusen have gone on a run of 6 games in which they have managed just 1 win, against second Bundesliga side Elversberg in the DFB Pokal. They also failed to beat Werder Bremen and Stuttgart, while their miserable run culminated against Liverpool and, more importantly, bottom side Bochum. And while the 4-0 thrashing at the hands of Liverpool doesn't really tell the whole story, Alonso's men struggled to convert their chances into goals against Bochum, as they drew 1-1. They managed an overall XG of 1.24, but missed 2 big chances. Once again, the absence of Boniface was felt, as he came off the bench and played no more than 15 minutes in the second half. And if you're wondering why we're focusing so much on this game, well, Bochum had just picked up 1 point before meeting the champions, and had also conceded an average of more than 3 goals per game. That's how low Leverkusen have actually fallen. As for the Anfield clash, Alonso insisted that the result came down to Liverpool converting 4 out of 4 big chances, while Leverkusen failed to do so. The result is tougher than the performance. It was okay to good for 60 minutes, and then just not good enough for the remaining 30, the Spaniard said at full time. Interestingly, Transfermarkt have also worked out how many points Leverkusen will collect by the end of the season if they continue in the same vein. Compared to last season's heroics of 2.7 per game, this season's struggles represent a drop of 35%. And if we take that average and spread it out over the remaining 24 league games, it suggests that Alonso's side are on course for just 58 Bundesliga points in 2024-25, 32 fewer than last season's final tally of 90. And all that with the same team, the same manager, and the same tactics. If you're wondering, what position would 61 points potentially put them in? Let's look at last season's figures. Well, with such a point tally, at first glance, Leverkusen will be comfortably in for a Europa League spot in 6th place. But let's not forget the catch. Last season, Germany was privileged to have 5 Champions League participants due to the high coefficients of the teams. So, if Leverkusen finished 6th this season, they would actually be playing in the Europa Conference League qualifiers. Definitely something Bayer Leverkusen fans wouldn't have thought possible. And while we talked about the attack being the biggest issue in the second half of the 2023-24 season, it is actually the defense that marks the biggest decline this campaign. Yes, as we said, the attack continues to underperform, something that applies to the whole of the 2024 calendar year. But the big drop-off comes at the back, and all of this combined gives clear signs of weakness in Leverkusen's actions as a unit all over the pitch. Last season, the team conceded an average of just 0.79 goals per game in all competitions. By comparison, that figure has now risen to a remarkable 1.56 goals conceded per game in all competitions, which is clearly having a huge impact on the team's ability to win games. On top of that, Leverkusen simply can't hold on to their leads, and that's the worst part of it. Here's the stat of the day. Xabi Alonso's side took the lead in 28 of their 34 Bundesliga games last season, and didn't drop a single point from a winning position. They're doing quite well in that regard now, having taken the lead 9 times out of 10 so far, but have dropped a staggering 11 points from such positions. 11 points. Unbelievable. And, to conclude the video on a more positive note, Leverkusen truly have an unbelievable team and conquered heights the side has never reached in its history. So, it is fair to say that they definitely have the mentality to turn their fortunes around. Maybe the current November international break can give a restart for the players, or probably need to implement a different game plan. But one thing is for sure, if there's a team in Germany that is capable of turning things around, it is certainly Leverkusen. If you have different views on this, of course, feel free to share them below. If you enjoyed it, however, there isn't a better thing to do than hitting the like and subscribe buttons. On to the next one. Bye-bye.